A lot of angles to review as they investigate this police-involved shooting. Megyn.
All right, Trace, thank you. Joining me now with more, Sheriff David Clarke of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, good to see you. And so many were very quick today to go after the LAPD for that video, basically suggesting this was out-and-out murder, that it was a homeless man who wasn't armed, and that they executed him. Your take on it?
Well, there's a lot about this investigation that hasn't been concluded and hasn't been released, and I want to be cautious in what I say. But there are some things I think I can comment on. I mean, look at the Skid Row. What a great social idea that was, right? It's been a disaster. But these law enforcement officers went in there on a call for service. They confronted an individual who, like in some of the other situations that we've seen recently, decided to fight with the police. I'll tell you right now, you go into a very dark place when you resist arrest. And when you get into a struggle with a suspect, weapon retention is job one. And when that weapon is trying, your own service weapon is trying to be taken from you, Charlie Beck or Chief Beck, I know him, I've met with him on more than one occasion. He said it right. All bets are off. And had that individual complied with the officer's lawful commands to be taken into custody like he had a duty to do, he'd be alive today.
But you heard what the people were saying. They were saying it's a homeless guy, and he wasn't. They believe he didn't deserve to be shot because the police had a taser, and we hear that a lot in these cases. Why not use something less than lethal force?
Well, first of all, we're talking about the rule of law here, and you know this, Megyn. The rule of law allows a law enforcement officer to use enough force to overcome the resistance, not meet the resistance. Not with an equal amount of force, but to overcome it. So, you know, you get a lot of armchair quarterbacks standing on the side and say, why didn't the police do this? Why didn't the police do that? They weren't in that situation. These things happen in circumstances that are tense, very uncertain, and they rapidly evolve. In a very short period of time, that shooting took place, and now, you know, people on the sidelines want to put in their 2 cents. They get to do that. We have to deal with that all the time. But the rule of law is the standard that I want to apply to this police shooting.
You know, we had obviously another case where the police were involved in the shooting of a citizen who was unarmed, as it turns out, and that was in Ferguson, Missouri. And that police officer was not indicted, Officer Darren Wilson, but nonetheless, Eric Holder's DOJ is still taking a look at the Ferguson Police Department, a very hard look. And now we get reports that his last act before he officially leaves office is going to be a report that's highly critical of the police in Ferguson, Missouri, and they will be criticizing them for disproportionately ticketing and arresting African Americans, relying on fines allegedly to balance the city's budget, and suggesting that there is racial animus in the way the cops in Ferguson police the citizenry. Your thoughts on Eric Holder's last act?
Well, first of all, there's this mistaken belief that unarmed means not dangerous. All right, in both of these situations, it's alleged, at least in the L.A., that the suspect was going after the officer's gun. Some of the same parallel circumstances went on in Ferguson, Missouri. Eric Holder has been the most race-obsessed attorney general in the history of the United States. Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. You know, Megyn, that symbol with the blindfolded lady, supposed to be colorblind as well. Eric Holder makes decisions that are color-coded. Everything that he does is put through the racial lens. He's had Ferguson, Missouri, and his police department in his crosshairs ever since he went down there after that tragic situation with Mike Brown and Officer Darren Wilson, and he said, we're going to make this right. On his way out the door, he's got one more kick at the cat. He wants to put Ferguson, Missouri up on his mantle as another law enforcement agency that he indicted for some sort of racial practices. I don't know everything that's going on in Ferguson, Missouri, but if I were the city fathers, city officials, if you will, I would fight these charges. Yeah. Eric Holder is using traffic stops, Megyn, simply because he can exploit that data. That's the first thing that race hustlers jump to, is looking at traffic stops to make some sort of determination that some sort of racial impropriety is going on here. Right. If you're a cop and you're working in an area that is predominantly black, most of your field interview stops, most of your police contacts, your calls for service, and most of your traffic stops are going to involve black individuals. Officers don't target. They don't racially profile. They criminally profile.
I apologize for cutting you off, but the computer's going to do the same thing to both of us in just a minute. Sheriff Clarke, great to see you. Right after this break, we today learned of a secret hidden in plain sight within the official portrait of President Bill